Okay guys, so we got chapter 327 out 2 days early, which before I get into the actual review, I want to mention two things about the chapter. One, the chapter is only 9 pages, which you would already know if you already read the chapter, and two, we are not going to be getting a chapter next week, which means that chapter 328 won't be coming out for another 2 weeks. Now, the reason for this is more than likely because of how much time and effort it took for Tabata to get everything done for the 7th anniversary of the series, on top of getting the last week's chapter done. Because there actually was a considerable amount of effort that Tabata had to put in time in order to make sure he got all that 7th anniversary stuff done, including the cover for the next volume, which, regardless of how you feel about the cover, whether you think it's lazy or not, it still took a lot of time and effort in order to draw it. In fact, there's actually a whole YouTube video, which is about an hour and a half long, that actually shows Tabata hand drawing the image that was used for the last week's cover of Shonen Jump, and it's going to be used for the volume cover that's coming out next. And there's a lot of other things that Tabata had to do for the 7th anniversary that we're not privy to. So because of how much time and effort all that took, that's the reason why this week's chapter was so short, because he probably burnt out from last week. And that's the reason why he's actually getting a week off next week in order to basically recover. Which is actually great for us, because 9 out of 10 times, whenever Tabata takes a break from a week of Shonen Jump, the next chapter he comes back with is actually always a 10 out of 10 chapter. And considering that chapter 328 should be the finale to the fight between Asta and Lucifero, that is a chapter that we definitely want Tabata to put his best effort in. So I am perfectly fine with him taking the next week off in order to basically recover and put more planning and effort into the next chapter. Now, finally getting into this week's chapter, the best way I can compare the entirety of the chapter and the way Asta's attitude is, it's pretty much reminded me of either Goku versus Frieza back during the Frieza arc when he first turned Super Saiyan, or Gohan back when he first turned into Super Saiyan 2 against Cell. Because the epicness of this brand new transformation that Asta has, its perfected double union, is pretty much on the same scale as those transformations, just because of the fact that, and I compare it only for this reason, because the enemy that was seemingly overpowered that no one could defeat, not even the main character prior to this, now can't do a single thing against the main character because of the new transformation. Because we already saw in the last chapter that Asta easily blocked Lucifero's punch, which last chapter before he transformed to his double union, or his perfected double union, would have definitely decimated Asta. In this chapter he blocks it, or in the last chapter he blocked it easily. And then even though Lucifero realizes that Asta obviously got a little bit stronger, even though he hasn't gained any magical ability, he still goes in for more punches, which he throws a barrage of punches at Asta, and Asta tanks every single punch, just blocking them with his arms. Which again is showing exactly how much stronger Asta has become in this now perfected double union, because prior to this, that would have crushed Asta's arms. I mean, look what Lucifero did to his leg when he just grabbed it once about 2 chapters ago. He broke it. And now he's taking a whole aura without even flinching. And man, I gotta say, after so many chapters of Asta basically just getting one-shotted and the shit kicked out of him by Lucifero and other characters having to jump in and protect him, it is so satisfying to finally see him basically just overpowering this character. And we end up getting this nice little monologue from Asta that actually explains why he now has this more perfected double union, which is a different version in the official translation than it is in the fan translation, and I actually kind of like the official translation better just because it makes more sense to me when it comes to exactly how we originally thought double union worked. So basically what he ends up saying is that before, it kind of felt like the things that the two of them were feeling, you know, Asta and Lee, were overlapping each other, kind of like just jumbling together. But this time it kind of feels like the two of them are one when it comes to their feelings. And that's the reason why the two of them are now able to use this now more perfected double union. Which makes sense, because if you remember back to when he was training on how to use his double union, he couldn't succeed in doing it at first, even though him and Lee were actually committed to working together at that point. It was only once the two of them actually connected their feelings and actually basically aligned with the same kind of goal, that's when they were actually able to finally achieve their double union. But even though the two of them had the same goal, they didn't have the same reasoning for wanting to achieve that goal. Asta's only reasoning for wanting to basically defeat Dante and Lucifero was to save Yami, while Lee wanted to avenge Lucida. Now, Yami has already been saved, so Asta's goal has been reached, but Lee still has to avenge Lucida, his mother. But after last week's chapter, when the two of them connected on a more emotional level and Asta became fully aware of exactly what happened to Leeb in the past, he now has the exact same reasoning for wanting to defeat Lucifero as Leeb. So because of that, because their reasonings actually connecting 100% in line with each other, they are now able to use this more perfected double union, which even Nock ends up calling a perfected double union in the chapter, which also implies, by the way he says it in the chapter in the official release, that he does not have a perfected double union with his 4 devils, which does make sense because Nock actually kind of has a master-servant relationship with his devils. They're not kind of connected on the same kind of emotional level that Asta is with Leeb. And the reason for that is pretty obvious. I mean, for the past few years, ever since Morgan died, he's obviously basically closed himself off emotionally as a kind of way to, you know, pay penance for getting his brother killed. And because of that, he hasn't been able to connect on an emotional level with his 4 devils. Now, obviously, they all trust him completely and actually want to work with him. Why else would they be willing to go against the King of Devils himself? but because he wasn't willing to open up to them on an emotional level, obviously he wasn't able to connect with them 100%, which means that he was not able to get a perfect double union. Now this actually has me excited for the future for Nox, because this means that potentially we could see him finally opening up to each of his devils like Modelo and all of them, and maybe in the future we might see him get a perfect double union with each 4 of them, and hopefully finally someday getting a combo double union with all 4 of his devils, which is something I've been hoping to see since we got introduced to the idea that he could do a combo double union in the first place. Then after Asta declares that he will be the one to take down Lucifero goes in for the barrage of punches, the Aura like I already mentioned, and after Asta blocks all of them with his arms, again impressive as hell compared to what he's been doing for the past few chapters, he goes in and basically slices off the 2 wings that Lucifero turned into arms that he was using to stab Drew, Nock, and Yami, which I did not realize in the last chapter when he rushed over to Asta that he still was stabbing the 2 of them. I thought he had dropped them at some point, but apparently he was still holding onto them when he went in to attack Asta, and Asta basically cuts it off, letting them fall free to the ground, and we actually get a callback to when Asta and Yami actually first interacted, where back then the reason why Yami recruited Asta into the Black Bulls is because of the fact that he found how much hard work he put into actually trying to become a Magic Knight even though he had no mana. Interesting. And this kind of shows everything came full circle, that even though Asta was the weakest person that he ever met when it comes to magic, he's now one of the strongest characters in the series, and he has continued to surpass everyone's expectations of him over and over again. Then we get this inner monologue from, I believe, Lee. It's either Lee or Asta. It's hard to tell exactly who's thinking this in this chapter, but we get this inner monologue from them saying that they actually have 5 seconds left in the Devil Union, which I saw some people thinking that this meant that this perfected Devil Union added 5 seconds on to their already original timeline. But I think this is basically saying that out of the original 2 minutes he said that he had back when he first transformed back into Devil Union back in chapter, I want to say 324, or no, 325, that this is basically the 5 seconds that's left of that timeline. And then to end the chapter, while he is still in the air, Asta actually uses his right foot to kick Lucifero in the face, sending him flying. So yeah, more than likely in the next chapter, the fight between Asta and Lucifero is going to end up ending, which means we probably have maybe 2 to 3 chapters left of this arc. We're pretty much at the very end of it, and I'm looking forward to seeing exactly how Tabata ends up finishing this fight. Now, we already know from Tabata's last offer comments from last week's chapter that he plans on doing a year 8 of Black Clover, which more than likely means that Black Clover will be continuing on for the foreseeable future. Now, I know a lot of people have been talking for the past few months about whether or not this will be the final arc. I definitely have been saying for the longest time that this is definitely not the final arc, and that there is so much more that Tabata could do going forward. Now, one of the theories I had was that he actually could use Lucifero basically escaping at the end of this arc and finding a way to basically fully manifest in the human world. That way he can actually come back a lot stronger, because remember, he's only at half manifestation right now. Asta's overpowering him right now only at half manifestation. There's still a lot more that Lucifero could do. Also, we still haven't seen the second Gates Devil do anything yet, so Tabata still has him to use as an antagonist for future arcs. Now, honestly, the argument can be made that just because Tabata wants the series to continue doesn't mean that Shonen Jump's going to let him. And one argument that I actually have that I've been holding on to for a video I've been meaning to make is that basically Shonen Jump actually only has about 5 top series. That is obviously Black Clover, not in any certain order, but Black Clover, One Piece, My Hero Academia, Dr. Stone, and JJK. And honestly, 2 weeks ago, Dr. Stone ended officially with basically, I believe, 1 bonus chapter coming out in the near future, but that's not actually connected to the overall series, which means now we're down to 4 series, and we already know that My Hero Academia is going to be ending in this year, because Horikoshi wants to end it within this year, and he's already kind of fast-tracking things in the final arc to end in this year before 2022 is over, which means we're going to be down to 3 series before the end of the year. So because of that, that means that there's only going to be 3 top-selling series in Shonen Jump. Because so far, none of the newbies are really touching the numbers that Black Clover, One Piece, and JJK are doing. So because of that, it would make sense for Shonen Jump to want to keep going Black Clover, even though it's the least selling of the top 5 series I mentioned so far in this video. It is still selling better than the newbies, so it does make sense for them to basically cut off their revenue for that by basically canceling it and relying on the newbies until one of them actually begins to sell more than Black Clover. But anyway guys, this is my reason for the reason why I think Black Clover is going to continue into year 8 and beyond. I still think there's at least 3 to 4 more years since Tabata could squeeze out the series for things he's set up already, and probably things he's going to set up in the future arcs. Anyway guys, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. I really do hope you all enjoyed it. I have to end this very quickly because my time is running out on my camera. But that's it for the video guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next chapter. Peace.